Okay, I'm going to go through how to find the greatest common factor and least common multiple of three numbers. Okay, three or more numbers. This cannot be done like we did with two numbers. Exactly, it's kind of the same process, but because there's three numbers, you can't find the least common multiple the same way. But the greatest common factor is basically the same. So let's go through this first one. The first thing you're going to do though is the same as the last time with two numbers, and you're going to do the prime factorization of each of these numbers. So I'm going to start with 12, and 12 is 3 times 4. 3 is prime, 4 is not, so we're going to figure out what goes into 4, and 2 times 2 goes into 4. So you have 2 times 2 times 3 as 12's prime factors. Okay? If you don't know how to find the prime factorization of a number, be sure to watch my video on prime factorization. 15, 3 times 5 goes into 15. Those are both prime, so its prime factors are 3 times 5. 21, 3 times 7 goes into 15, or 21. So those are both prime. Sorry, this should be a 7. Those are both prime, so 3 times 7 are the prime factors for 21. When I do this with three numbers, I like to write the numbers for each, the prime factors for each out in the list. So I'm going to rewrite them again. 2 times 2 times 3. 15 is 3 times 5. And 21 is 3 times 7. So to find the greatest common factor, you need to figure out what they have in common. Each of them have to have the factors. So between 12, 15, and 21, they each have a greatest common factor, or they each have a factor of 3. So we're going to have a 3, okay? And they don't have anything else in common for each one. So the greatest common factor for 12, 15, and 21 is 3, okay? The least common multiple is a little different. Okay, I'm going to erase these lines a second. When you are doing this with three numbers, and you can actually do this with two if you want as well, you're going to go through each number or each factor, the lowest ones first probably. So I'm going to start with 2's, and I'm going to look through and find the most amount of 2's in each one. So this has 2 2's, so I'm going to put a box around those. Then I'm going to go to 3. And each one has a 3, but they're all 1. So I'm just going to pick this one, and I'm going to cross these out. Okay? And then this one has a 5, which is the most out of all of them. So I'm going to put a box around that. And there's a 7 left, and that is the most 7's out of any number. So I'm going to put a box around that. Okay, what you're going to do with that is you're just going to multiply all those numbers that you boxed out. So you're going to have 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, times 5 is 60, times 7 is 420. And that is your least common multiple. Okay? I'm going to go through another example with three numbers on how to use prime factorization to find the greatest common factor and least common multiple. Okay, let's use 24, 32, and let's go with 50. Okay, so we have to find the prime factorization of 24. Well, 4 and 6 make 24. Those are both composite. 2 times 2 makes 4, those are prime. 2 times 3 makes 6, those are also prime. So our prime factors are 2 times 2 times 3. 32, 8 times 4, 2 times 4, 2, 2. These are all prime. So our prime factors are 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And 50 We have 5 times 10, 2 times 5. So we have 2, sorry, I gotta circle them. 2 times 5 times 5. Okay, so those are the prime factors for each number. And I'm gonna rewrite them so I can see them more easily. 24, 32, and 50. Okay? 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And 2 times 5 times 5. Okay, so if we want to find the greatest common factor, or the GCF, we need to find which ones they have in common. So they each have a 2, okay? So they each have a 2. Okay, so we have 2. And they don't have anything else that shows up in all of them. So these two have a 2, but there's no more 2's left here. And this has a 5. There's no 5's in the other ones. And 24 has a 3, but there's no 3's in the other ones. So the only factor that they have in common is the 2. So our greatest common factor between 24, 32, and 50 is 2. Okay, so I'm going to erase these circles now. Okay, now we're going to find least common multiple. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with the 2's and you're going to find the one that has the most 2's in it. So 32 has 5 2's. And that's the most amount of 2's for each number. So we're going to get rid of these 2's. We're just going to cross them off. And I'm going to get rid of these 2's. 24 has the most amount of 3's, which is just one of them. So I'm going to put a box around that. And 50 has the most amount of 5's. I'm going to put a box around that. Okay, so now that all the numbers are used or crossed off, you just multiply all those together. So you have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. So when we multiply all this together, well, the 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, since those are all the 2's, we know that that's 32. So 32 times 3 is 96 times 5 is 480, and 480 times another 5 is 2400. So the least common multiple between 24, 32, and 50 is 2400. That's a pretty big number. So if you were to write all those out, listing each multiple, it would take you a long time. So if you can get the hang of how to use prime factorization for 3 or more numbers, that will really speed up the process.